Hello friends, today I will discuss human skeleton system. So let's study what are the component of human skeleton. We classify human skeleton into two divisions, axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. Axial skeleton comprises the bones which is found along the central axis traveling down the center of the body, whereas appendicular skeleton comprises the bone appended to the central axis. So in next slide you will see axial skeleton consists of vertebral column, thorax and skull, whereas appendicular skeleton consists of skeleton of the upper limb and skeleton of the lower limb. So in this picture you can see the axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. In this picture also whatever you see in blue is axial skeleton and whatever is in pink that is appendicular skeleton. So axial skeleton you can see here consists of skull. As I told you, axial skeleton consists of skull, then this is the thorax part and this is the vertebral column. All the bones of the vertebra will comes under the axial skeleton. Then whatever is left that will be the appendicular skeleton, that is bones of the forelimbs, you can skeleton of the forelimbs, and here skeleton of the lower limbs. All these are parts of appendicular skeleton. Next you will see, as I told you, axial skeleton consists of vertebral column, thorax and skull. So first of all we will discuss about vertebral column. So what is vertebral column? Vertebral column consists of cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum and coccygeal vertebra. In this image you can see cervical vertebra, these are thoracic vertebra, these parts are lumbar vertebra, these are sacrum and these are coccyx. Total cervical vertebra is 7, thoracic is 12 and lumbar vertebra is 5, sacrum is also 5 and coccyx 4 to 5, which is fused. These are the anterior view and these are the posterior view of the vertebral column. Here also you can see this part. This part is cervical part, this is thoracic part, this is lumbar, then sacral and coccyx part. Now we will study what is vertebra. As we know that vertebral column is made up of number of irregular bones. Each separate bones in vertebral column is called vertebra. Here at cervical vertebra there are total 6 cervical vertebra. So each vertebra in a vertebral column each bones of the vertebral columns are called vertebra. Now next we will study what are the parts of vertebra. There are 3 parts of the vertebra. One is vertebral body, second is vertebral arch and third is vertebral foramen. Vertebral body is represented by the anterior expanded part of the vertebra. Now I will show you one image. Here you can see this part is the vertebral body. If you see, this portion is anterior and this portion is posterior. So vertebral body is the anterior expanded part of the vertebra. This. Then second is vertebral arch, which is located posteriorly to the body and together with it encloses the vertebral column. In this image you will see like this part is vertebral arch. This part vertebral arch is posterior to the vertebral. This is anterior part and this is posterior part, and this vertebral arch is posterior to the body. And third is vertebral foramen, which is bounded by the vertebral body and arch. Joined together form vertebral foramina, from which vertebral canal which contains the spinal cord. So in the next image you can see this is the vertebral arch and this is the vertebral body, and together they form this canal which is called vertebral foramen. Together they form foramen. That foramen is called vertebral foramen. Through that vertebral foramen, a spinal cord pass. Look, this is one vertebra. This is one vertebra. This is another second vertebra, and this is third vertebra. Each vertebra will have vertebral foramen. When all the vertebral foramen gets connected, they form vertebral canal, and through that canal spinal cord passage. Here you can see that spinal cord. This is the spinal cord and which passes through the vertebral canal. Next, we will study what are the processes of vertebral arch. As you know, this is the vertebral arch. This part, this is the vertebral arch. From vertebral arch, 7 processes arises. From vertebral arch, 7 processes arises. These 7 processes, out of which one is spinous processes, transverse processes are 2 in number, and articular processes are 4 in number. I will show you image after this, then you will understand very well. Spinous process is the longest process, which is single and extend from the vertebral arch posteriorly. So look at this image. This is the spinous process. Here this part is the spinous process. This spinous process is single, extend posteriorly. Look, this is anterior part and this part is posterior, extend posteriorly. Second is transverse process. Transverse process is paired and extend laterally from the arch. Again, if you see this image, here in this image, this part is the transverse process, which is laterally placed. This is anterior part, this is posterior part, and this is laterally placed. So transverse process is placed laterally. Third and the most important process is articular process, which are 4 in number. There are 2 articular processes, superior articular process and inferior articular process. Each are 2 in number. First, let's talk about superior articular process. Superior articular process extend upward from the arch. Look at this image. In this image, we see this is the superior articular process. This is a typical T12 vertebra. In this vertebra, this part, Look, this is lateral view. In lateral view, this process which is extend upward from the vertebral arch, this part is vertebral arch, and from vertebral arch it extend upward. This is called superior articular process. Next, superior articular process bear articular facets directed posteriorly. So in this image, if you see superior articular process, this is this facet which is posterior. This is anterior part and this is posterior part. So superior articular process bears facet which is located posteriorly. Next is inferior articular process which extends downwards from the arch. If we look at this image, in this image, this part is the inferior articular process and it has facets which face anteriorly, that is forward, but facets which were in superior articular process, they were posteriorly placed, and facets in inferior articular process are placed forward or anteriorly. So that's all about the process of vertebral arch. Next is what is vertebral notch and intervertebral foramen. There are superior vertebral notch and inferior vertebral notch. In superior vertebral notch are 2 in number and inferior vertebral notch are also 2 in number. Superior vertebral notch are paired, located superiorly, posteriorly bonded by the superior articular process. So let's see this image. In this image, this part is superior vertebral notch. So look here, superior vertebral notch, this is superior view. So superior vertebral notch is located superiorly. Second, posteriorly bonded by the superior articular process. So here look, this part is this is anterior part and this is posterior part. Here superior vertebral notch is bonded posteriorly by the superior articular process. This part here is superior articular process which bonds superior vertebral notch from posterior side. Next is inferior vertebral notch. Inferior vertebral notch is also paired, but this is located inferiorly, as the name suggests, inferior vertebral notch. So it will be located inferiorly. In the next image, here you can see that this notch is inferior vertebral notch, and posteriorly it is bonded by the inferior articular process. Look, posterior, this is posterior. Posteriorly this inferior notch is bonded by inferior articular process. If you compare the depth of superior vertebral notch and inferior vertebral notch, so inferior vertebral notch is more deep compared to superior vertebral notch. Next is intervertebral foramina. Intervertebral foramina resides laterally between adjoining vertebra. If we see this image, this is one vertebra. This is one vertebra, this is another vertebra, and this foramen you see, this is lateral view. All these are intervertebral foramen. Intervertebral foramen. How intervertebral foramen is formed? It is formed when the superior vertebral notch joins with the inferior vertebral notch. So in this image, if you see, this, wait, I erase this portion. This is superior vertebral notch and this is inferior vertebral notch. So when superior vertebral notch joins with inferior vertebral notch, a foramen is formed. This foramen is called intervertebral foramen. What structures pass through this intervertebral foramen? Through intervertebral foramen, spinal nerves pass, which you learn in the nervous part. So through this vertebral foramen, spinal nerve will come like this. So that's all regarding vertebral column. Today we discussed vertebra, parts of vertebra. In the next lecture I will discuss about types of vertebrae, about cervical vertebra, thoracic vertebra, lumbar vertebra and sacrum vertebra. So in this video, that's it. See you in the next video. Thank you.